Nice. All right, I'm all set. Let me turn this down. What up, fam? Nice. All right, I'm all set. What? There we go. All right, cool. What up, everyone? It took me a while to get this OBS thing figured out. All right, this is like my fourth or fifth live stream. Happy to be on. Wearing my faith and based T-shirt. Serve others. This is my hat, but I basically did a different version on this one because I was trying to figure out the correct color schemes. So this is actually one that I'm not even selling, but I got the white and gold and then the black and tan. So make sure you cop a hat or a shirt at faithandbase.com. Rep your boy, rep Christ, rep God, and all in all, good clothes with a good message around it. I have a lot of fun things to discuss today. The book of Job, the Antediluvian times, which is pre-flood, and also like giants and some folklore. And I usually like to start off all my streams with a quick prayer. Father God, bless this podcast. Hope that be here in your spirit and guide myself and the listeners with an open ears and open heart, open mind to get your wisdom and to help bless others along the way. In Jesus Christ's name, amen. But so I wanted to talk about the book of Job, and I really like this book in the Bible. It's from the Old Testament, and as somebody that grew up Catholic, I consider myself Christian. I feel like when we go to school, we learn about the New Testament a lot, right? Especially like if you go to church, they talk about the four Gospels, and then some of the other letters written by Paul, and I feel like that's like a lot of the focus is on. Sure, there's some Genesis stuff, but really you don't really learn a lot of the other books as much. So I feel like in my opinion, some of the book those are some of the more headier books with a lot more information that really like answers a lot of those questions that people have, like why would God let something negative happen to good people, right? So like I feel like that's like a very human thought process to have, and I feel like after like reading the book of Job and kind of absorbing it, man, you're like, wow, this is actually like a really, really heady book. Like, I don't see why they can't even like this hasn't been a movie or something, right? So to people that don't really know about the book of Job, it's basically the main character. His name is Job, and he's this basically very upright and prosperous individual. He's a wealthy landowner. He loves his family, and he has a deep, deep faith for God. So basically, Satan, so in heaven, is talking with God, and basically says, "Hey, look, like Job is only very pious towards you because he's had such a great life. So that's why he loves you, is because his life's been so good." So then God challenged Satan and was like, "Okay, fine. If you like, to prove Satan wrong, he was like, I'll allow Job to have a lot of misfortunes on him, but just don't kill him." So then what happens? He loses all of his livestock, right? So his wealth completely goes away. His health completely declines, and then his family dies. So all of his family gets killed. His health goes down. He's covered in boils, and he loses all of his wealth. And despite all the suffering that he had to go through, all the while he never cursed God. He still remained faithful, even though he was going through like a lot of like turmoil, right? And I feel like a lot of people, when they deal with turmoil in their life, they go away from God. I remember even, I'm not gonna name drop or anything, but I remember me and my dad went to a football game, and we talked with somebody that we knew from church, like back in the day, and we go, oh hey, how's your family, how's your wife, da da da, and then they go, oh man, it's so nice to see you and your son hanging out. Man, we don't really go to church much anymore. Ever since my wife's mother passed away, she just like turned away from God, and she wanted nothing to do with God because she couldn't comprehend why God would let her mother pass, right? And maybe it's such in a bad way, right? So I feel like a lot of people kind of go through this, like, man, I've gone through such turmoil, I'm going through this. How could God let that happen? So basically, that's what happened with Job, right? So then, amongst all this, Job had friends come over, and then they were offering explanations for why he's suffering, right? That he's been sinning, that bad things, that this is like a divine punishment for him. And it basically, Job was like, look, like I've actually haven't been doing bad, so I don't know why. So he was really like having a hard time like mulling this over, and basically at the end, God restores Job's fortune and blesses him to be more prosperous than ever. But basically, God like talked to Job, and was basically like, hey, were you there when I created the heavens? Were you there where, when a bird, when a hawk, basically all these different parts of saying like, hey, like you don't know these realities that I created, kind of like rhetorical questions to Job. And I think that really opens up your eyes to like how God sees things in multi layers, right? It's like it's not just one to one, like a linear thing. Like, oh, you did something bad and now you get punished. Like, I mean, it could potentially be like that, but really, like, there's like a bigger purpose at hand. So maybe something that bad that might be happening to you, that might actually set you up in the long run, or he might be actually like, kind of like a spiritual alchemy where he's getting rid of the lead, getting rid of the ugliness or the bad things inside of you for you to become better. But it really like lets you know like, hey, at the end of the day, we all get tested, right? So Job had unwavering faith through crazy trials and tribulations, and then it all ended up eventually getting restored. He ended up having more kids, more wealth, and all this stuff, and he lived to like 150 years longer, right? So in our minds, we think, oh, like, let's just pretend I'm like an elderly man. Oh, I'm 70 years old, I've lost so much. God can't, oh, I only have so much to live. I can never recoup that, and I'm only going to live X amount of time. It's like, bro, you don't realize God could do whatever he wants. He can make you live to like 200 years old, 300 years old. If like, you're by limiting God, you actually limit your abilities. So I think that's like thinking about Job and how he still remained faithful even through the tests. Like it really like, I don't know, it's a really profound book because it makes you really think about how like in life we all get tested, and it's like, are you going to backslide mentally, spiritually, and be like, man, I'm going to curse God, I'm going to say, hey, God doesn't exist, or you're going to like, or are you actually going to just take the test, still like be somebody that's faithful amongst all the crap along the way? So like you have to realize that we all get tested. It's like every day and every challenge is a test. And maybe sometimes you might pass or fail. You might fail your test, right? And God might give you a pow pow, like a little smack on the butt. But that doesn't mean that you can't overcome that eventually, because in the end, you have to think about like God's divine wisdom. It's like people like make this like in philosophy class, right? In college, they talk about free will and determinism. And usually people think of it like a paradigm. There's free will and determinism. And either it's all free will or it's all determined, right? So your life is determined from the beginning to the end, or you're the one determining it with your free will all along the way. But this is what I believe, and I think what God has kind of demonstrated to me in my life, that it's the perfect mathematical equation where it is 100% free will and it's 100% determined at the exact same time. It's free will, meaning you're able to do what you want, you could backslide, you could do this and that, but as you're doing that, God's going to be like, oh, by the way, I knew you were going to backslide at that time. And then after you backslid, you're going to come close to me. And then da-da-da-da. So it's like I've heard this philosopher talk about it. It's actually this guy, Firas Zahabi. He's like a MMA coach. It's that it's the world's greatest pool game, like pool, like billiards. It's that the balls are just hitting all over the place. And God sees all the different variations and stuff, but he knows at the end where that ball's going to go. So, and I think that the book of Job really, like, that's such a heady book, because it's one of the books that really like talks about like Satan, and makes you like kind of like understand like his role. Like his role is to tempt you. His role is to do the bad thing, but it's like it's just a conduit of God. He's just there for God to like tempt you or test you to see where your heart's at, see where you're at, And just think about it, how sad that is, right? How many people, when they get challenged, they just backslide and they say, they metaphorically flip the table over and they're like, forget about it, never mind, God doesn't exist, screw it, screw this, screw that, and they lose their faith, And then it's like, man, like, bro, you just lost the test, man, So, I think that's just a crazy book, and what's crazy is that I actually saw an animated short that my friend sent me, and it's really, really powerful, and the artwork is sick, really, really nice. And man, I gotta say, when Job loses his family, it almost made me tear up. It's just like so sad, bro. Like, imagine like, losing your money, that sucks, but dude, losing your money, your family, and your health. I mean, what else is there? And imagine all of that, and you're still like not like saying something bad, that's true power, and it's like really something to aspire to through the trials and tribulations that inevitably we all face as humans, So yeah. So what else do we got here? After the book of Job, I want to kind of talk about the pre-flood, right? So back in the day, people used to live, right, way, way longer. So even in the Bible, it goes into the different. So like in Genesis 5, right? It says Genesis 5:3. When Adam had lived 130 years, he had a son in his own likeness, in his own image, and named him Seth. Seth was born. Adam lived 800 years and had sons and daughters. Altogether, Adam lived a total of 930 years and he died. When Seth had lived 105 years, Seth lived 807 years and had sons and daughters. So and then it says Enoch lived 815 years. And he had a total of 905 years. And Kenan lived a total of 910 years. And Mahalalel lived a total of 895 years. And Jared lived a total of 962 years. Enoch lived a total of 365 years. Enoch walked faithfully with God, then he was no more because God took him away. So that's saying that Enoch never even died. And I know I've talked about the book of Enoch before, but so Enoch literally like God took him away, like, bro, like, kind of like Christ, like, went up into heaven. So between Enoch and who was the other biblical figure? One other, Elijah. They're actually up in heaven. Um, Methuselah, 969 years. Lamech lived 777 years. What a number. So just think about that. Back in the day, this is pre-flood. These people lived super, super, super long. Now, what's something to think about that? Well, back in the day, and there's different theories about it, that there was actually more oxygen in the air then, because everything was different then. So like, I don't know if people are too hip to big trees and big basically like the our ecosystem, the way it was, is that it was like pretty rad, right? It was more than just like the way that we interface with reality now. So I actually have some things that I wanted to pull up. Let's see if I could do it. So I'm going to see if I could screen capture. Um, see if I could do this, guys. This is the first time I'm doing this. Scale to window. No. Give me a second. Testing out something here, guys. Oh man, I just did it earlier. I promise I'll get better at this, everybody. No. Give me a second, y'all. I want to be able to show some stuff, and I think. Okay, hold on. Oh, what's going on here? Oh man. Whoa. Hold on a second, y'all. Okay. My screen's like bugging out now. Oh man, hold on a second. Oh my goodness. Oh lordy. Dang. I did not foresee that happening. Oh, full screen projector mode. Oh, that's what it was? Okay. Oh man. Alright, hold on a second. That was hilarious. I rebuke all negative spirits. Oh, here we go. Fit the screen. Let's go. All right, cool. So here's an example of things I'm talking about. So this is a. What's funny is that people call this an island, right? But if you look at this could have very well been a tree, a giant tree. So what a lot of people are saying is that, like, back in the day, there was actually trees that were super super long. Like, look at this one, Devil's Tower in Wyoming. Like, bro, you're gonna tell me that's a tree stump? I mean, you're gonna tell me that's like a mountain? Come on, dog. Like, that is definitely a tree. You know what I mean? Like, so like back in the day, imagine. So like these little trees that gives us oxygen. Imagine all these huge trees. What that would have done? You know, all those huge. Imagine if there were trees this big, like way up in the sky. Like think about how much oxygen would be on the earth. So I think that, my hypothesis is that that back in the day, that there was like bigger trees that produced more oxygen, so people used to live like way longer. So and that's not just my hypothesis. I'm pretty sure, like, it's I've heard that from before, from somebody else, and that's the way kind of knowledge gets passed, right? And I think that something that's kind of interesting is that you cannot create something out of thin air. You're always using a reference. So there's always going to be another reference that's influencing you to come up with something else. Like, I can't in a vacuum come up with some crazy idea, because I'm gonna have some reference. Oh, a song I've heard before, a video game I've heard or played, or a movie I've seen, right? So like, there's no such thing of coming out with something out of nothing. You need something else as a reference point. Which brings me, okay, which brings me back into the concept of titans, right? Or giants. So in ancient times, and like there's a lot of different mythologies of titans or giants that have ruled the world. So like, I'm speaking biblically now, that there are giants in the Old Testament, and they call them the Nephilim, and that's associated with, and that's in Genesis 6:4, and these Nephilim are described as the son of God, and they ended up mating with human. They're the offspring of the I'm sorry, they're the offsprings of the fallen angels and the women, and they created these giants called the Nephilim. And basically, this is like up to your interpretation, but even in Greek mythology, there's titans, right? And it's like powerful deities who ruled the world back in the day, right? So the titans are Cronus, Rhea, and Atlas, right? And they were physically gigantic specimen. So in Norse mythology, there's giants as well. It's called Jotnar, and they're like different sizes and shapes. In Hindu mythology, there's rakshasas, and they're often portrayed as malevolent or demonic figures with extraordinary strength. I mean, go figure. Same as the fallen angels, right? Because they've rebelled against God, so they were also thought of as bad. And then in Native American and indigenous mythologies, they have their own stories about giants and giant beings. So basically, what I just ran through the Judeo-Christian perspective of the biblical giants, Greek mythology, Norse mythology, Hindu mythology, and Native American mythology. So, what am I saying here? Well, as I alluded to before, you cannot come up with something without a reference of something else, right? So if you're telling me that all these different cultures have thought of giants, like, and none of these cultures were apparently communicating with each other, how could they all have the same story, right? And like, you can't come up with ideas out of nowhere. Like, that's just not the way the human mind works. I don't care what you are, like, if someone makes music, you're always going to be influenced by other music you've heard before. That's just the way it goes. Or if you're an artist, you're making art created by other things that you've seen before. So all these apparently mythos, I mean, let's just call it what it is. They're influenced by something that's actually happened. So obviously, as I've said before, and this is like a Bible scripture, right? There's nothing new under the sun, Ecclesiastes, and really there's nothing new under the sun, right? And so you really have to think about it like that. That people aren't making up stuff out of thin air. That's just not the way it goes. So with giants, a lot of people say, first of all, the Smithsonian has like really like when archaeologists have excavated some of the giant bones and stuff, and I have some images. the Smithsonian basically hides it, and then they don't put it out to the public. And so that's like, you know, bones or fragments or whatever. And I have some images to show. But a lot of you know, people that I follow on Instagram and whatnot, on Twitter or X, they talk about other they talk about how basically a lot of archaeology, like mountains and basically rocks, are basically fragments of giants. And that's really cool because it really like makes you, it paints a picture to an old reality that we used to have, right? The pre-flood antediluvian. So I actually have some links that I could share. Let's see if I go back to screen capture mode. Let's go. Okay, so I have my little notes here. You can even see. So here, let's look at this as together.
They don't want people to know about these giants because it goes.
I'll just turn off the sound here. But you could just see this like huge skull here. See, like they're talking about, and they're saying this was found in Nevada, and apparently there was like a lot of look, I mean, look at that huge bone. There was a lot of giants found in America. So so go figure. That's why there was a lot of Native American mythos about giants, you know. And it's not like people are just like crazy just trying to come up with some like nutty stuff. And then if you really
just the thigh bone.
if you really think about it, like Jack and the Beanstalk and like all these kinds of like characters that we're like taught about, it's like the same principle. Like people aren't just like coming up with that out of the blue for no reason. Like there's actually like what I like to say, like gravy in it, you know? I mean, dude, look at this picture right here. Like, come on, bro. Like, this is wild, bro. You know? So you really have to think about things like this. Like, bro, look how big, like, that skull is at least, like, bro, one person, two people, 2.5 people long, bro. Like, you know? Look a sigh. Like you always have to have people that love debunking what people talk about, you know. I mean, I think they're either down with the powers that be or they're, you know, whatever. Look at this, a huge crown, you know. But I mean, you could even see there's like huge doorways and doorknobs that are like super big. Oh, we talked about the Devil's Tower. Yeah, that's just crazy. What else? Yeah, I mean, I don't know how true this image is. I mean, it looks pretty wild though, bro. But yeah, I mean, if that's true, I mean, just look at that, dude. That's just like freaking insane. I'm sure to continue running through some of this. Yeah, like when you see some of the archaeological sites, like why would they make something like this? Like you see like normal staircase for people, and then you see these huge stairs, you know? And it just really just gives you context of like the past. So like when I was talking about like giants are in petrified rocks and stuff, there's this page that I really love, Sibs on Insta, and they really like demonstrate a lot of other like interesting perspectives on like rocks and formations and what the past is like, you know. And I mean, look at that. I mean, does that not look like a face? I mean, he really kind of goes down deep. And what I like about these rabbit holes is that like really like it almost gives more. Look at this face right here. It actually gives more context to the Bible. You know, it's not just like some crazy conspiracy or anything like that. It really just like lets you know, like, dude, like all this stuff about the Nephilim and stuff in Genesis, like this is like super real, you know. And it's like I mean, here like giant toes. And like, listen, I'm not here to tell you that any of this isn't real or is real, but it really just paints a picture that like, yo, like the truth is stranger than fiction, right? And that people don't come up with all this stuff in a vacuum. Like this stuff, like there's actual reasons why people have like come up with this, you know. Um, I mean, look at this. This one's pretty nutty. Here, you know, they even give you like an image of like, bro, this could be like a huge like dragon thing or whatever, and you just see it. Like it's funny that when you see it with the right eyes, you're like, oh shit, it kind of does look like that, you know. It's like, damn, like what is that, you know? It's just pretty wild, you know. It really opens up your mind to like what are the possibilities of the reality that we live in, and it's not just like as so boring and basic as like the media or the powers that be like lead you to believe, you know, because the thing is that we live in a real special world, you know, and it's like the whole context changes when you think about it geocentric, like a geocentrist, right? That the earth is the main and everything else is like surrounded around the earth. So instead of you know, oh, we're flying through infinite space and there's just like there's only so much stuff. It's like, actually no, man, like it's there's not like 1,000 million planets and infinity and all this crazy stuff. You know, it's actually like, no, there's like, you're super important, and where we live is super crazy, you know. And like it's not like, I don't know, they make it seem like the world is like millions years old and all this kind of stuff, and it's like, dude, actually it's not even that old, you know. um yeah, I mean, it's funny that this guy he posts so much cool things where you really just see like the faces and all this kind of stuff. And um and it's not just humans, like huge giants too. Like that's like, it's also like, you know, that's where they come up with the concept of like dinosaurs and all that stuff, which I think dinosaurs are a psyop. Like I don't think that dinosaurs are real. Not in the way that they demonstrated to us. I think it's just basically giant bones and like, you know, um, yeah, it's like, yeah, maybe there were gigantic creatures, but not dinosaurs in the way they explain it. And then here you go, yeah, that this. I mean, you can't tell me that this isn't a giant tree stump. And like not to mention like with the Devil's Tower, like bro, think about the name too, the Devil's Tower, and then it's cut off, bro. You know, and it's like, dude, we need oxygen to breathe. Like we have a symbiotic relationship with trees and plants, so we need them. So just think about like, bro, what better way for the devil to like try to damper, like kill off humanity by just chopping off all of our resources that help us breathe. And think about it now with overdevelopment, right? They just chop down trees and get rid of trees and build more apartments and shit like that everywhere. So I don't know, just kind of crazy, something to think about. I think a lot of people, like, you know, obviously, you know, my podcast and clothing brands about God and Christianity and all this kind of stuff. But I do think that opening your eyes to maybe some of these other truths or possibilities, I think is important, because it lets you know. Like the way I like to break it down is like this: like you have to know the ugly side in order to know the good side, right? Like you have to know that there's a satanic kingdom. There's a lot of evil out there. There's people doing negative things, terrible things, and that actually opens your eyes to, oh my goodness, like people are really worshiping Satan. They're pledging their allegiance in the halftime show at the Super Bowl, they're doing this. Like once you see the signs and you see all the things everywhere, you're like, yo, like there's like crazy spiritual warfare like everywhere. But you don't just become like me where you've been in the world and you had this other world view and then you go back to God. It's like, dude, because you have to open your eyes to the spiritual realm and all the other implications and things around you. And most people, they either A, don't see it, B, don't want to see it, or C, they're not allowed to talk about it, right? Whether they're, you know, people that they're down with, or, you know, some of the affiliations that they might have, they can't say these things, right? But that's a good part about being a free man, you know? You could just say whatever you want, do whatever you want, talk about whatever you want, you know? And the thing is, too, is that what the fun part about truth is that a lot more truth's been happening, right? So that's how you know more or less we're in the end times, because it's like, dude, the truth's coming out at such a rapid rate that it's like, dog, like what? The powers that be are gonna freaking get mad at everybody. They're gonna off everybody. They're gonna, no. It's like, dude, you name it. You go on Instagram, you go on Twitter, you go on this and that. Like I see so much gravy getting dropped at such a high rate. It's like, bro, what are you gonna do, bro? Everyone's waking up. Everyone's like knowing what's up by now, you know. So that's the fun part, you know. It's like, and it's crazy that when you read some of the biblical prophecy, that's what it talks about. That in the end times, truth is going to be like, things are going to be revealed more, you know. So I think God is like really like revealing himself a lot more. So he's giving people a chance to wake up. He's like, yo, dog, like I'm real, God's real, like, bro, like, you know, this is not a game anymore. And it's like, bro, if people want to still be dumb and put the blind eye, it's like, bro, like God's a loving God. He's going to reveal himself to people so people come close to him, you know? So he's going to get to a point where he's just going to let people, more and more stuff's going to get revealed to you. And then it's like, what now, you know? Just like all this noise in the background. So now it's like, what now? Like, are you gonna actually like come close to him and start trying to change your life or change your worldview or demonstrate things differently, or, you know, not be such a narc, or, you know, not do things in an unscrupulous way or whatever? Or are you gonna, you know, change it up? So yeah. So I feel like, man, it's only 9:40. I still got like 20 minutes left, but yeah, let's see really quick here. Oh yeah, I got some of my boys chopping up on the chat. All right, let's see what's up. There's nothing new under the sun. Da 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 da. Yeah. Nothing new under the sun. That's right. Grace is such an undeserving gift from God. We're all blessed. Let's appreciate what's on our plate and not envy what's on the other's plate. Hey man, honestly, bro, I that, you know, and I'll overshare. You know, I think I'm somebody that I definitely have fallen short. You know, and things that I wanted, I didn't achieve because I messed up, right? And then it hurt me so much to see other people have these things that I wanted, and it really like made me like go crazy, you know. And I had to like go off social media and all this stuff because I was like, man, I was yearning for all these things, and then because of me having so much greed, I ended up screwing myself over. And then next thing you know, it was painful and hurtful to see other people succeeding in life. And what's crazy is that it's people that I love and people I'm friends with or whatever. So then that would even make me feel doubly bad. I was like, yo, like I feel terrible about this. First of all, having these ugly feelings. And then second of all, the fact that I'm having these ugly feelings about people I love or like, you know, also makes me feel bad. So I was just like, yo, this is just like straight up demonic, bro. This is like ugly. I I can't even fucking be like, part of my language, but I can't even be like that, yo. So, but I think that in a weird way though, the acknowledgement and noticing my faults actually help me build resolve and to become stronger in that way. So I'm glad that I, in a paradoxical way, I'm glad that I went through that, because it made me more cognizant of my emotions and how I get affected by things. Um, yeah. Let me see. Grace is the overflowing favor of God, and you could always count on it being available to draw upon as you need. Yeah. Um, Yeah, man, I love grace, man. I love the grace from God, and it's crazy how God, man, He really does give us more than we deserve, and it's very obvious to me in this life, man. Like I've messed up, like, bro, at such an exponential rate, more than I've been blessed. So it just shows that, like, God is such a loving God, man, because I've definitely, like, screwed up so many times in my life, and I'm like, bro, I'm blessed, man. So yeah, it's really humbling to know how much God loves you, bro. And one thing I'll say about being a father is that I have a daughter, and the way that I love my daughter ridiculously, like uncontrollably, that's exactly the way God feels about us, but times like infinity, like a lot more. So yeah, I feel like that's like the most like kaleidoscopic and like most rad thing about being a dad, is that you get a very minuscule sample of how he views us, right? Like, he loves us, right? And it's like, man, I love my daughter so much, it's ridiculous. So, yeah, it's very humbling. Grace is very humbling. Yeah, man. Cool, bro. I love you guys in the chat, bro. You guys are really cool, bro. Fucking awesome, bro. Um, what else, bro? What else do I got, man? Does anybody have anything else for me to talk about, bro? I usually try to go till an hour, but I'm a little bit early today. Um, yeah, I'll just say that, man. I'm happy I was able to get my OBS up as far as like sharing stuff. Um, and yeah, like I really think the Book of Job, like being able to like as you're going through struggles in life, and as we all do, to really just understand that, hey, like, think about Job, bro. God let Satan mess with him just to demonstrate to the devil, bro, this guy is blameless. This guy is a good guy. And Satan's like, nah, man, he's only a good and pious and all this because he's had such a good life. And he's like, all right, fine, then go after him. Just don't kill him. And bro, family dies, health messed up, riches taken away from him, and he's still faithful. And then, because, obviously he struggled hardcore, and then because he struggled hardcore and still had the faith, even when his boys were telling him the wrong thing, God blessed him again. So it's really like, man, like playing that long game, you know, not not focusing on the tit for tat and the small game, but it's like, bro, the long game, bro. Like, you got to remember that, even what I was saying before, like, bro, people used to live till like 900 years old, you know? So even if you're like an 80-year-old man and you're like, bro, I got screwed. What else is left? I'm only going to live another few years. It's like, bro, don't you realize that you're talking about God here? Like, he could make you live another 200 years if you wanted to. He could do whatever he wants, bro. Like play more of the long game and don't worry about like what you think is good, because like what else is there? Um, you know? So, yeah, and it's funny, like what I like to say too is that, like, takes one to know one. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've gone through things, and then as a result, things resonate with me, right? So, when I hear about these like Job like messing up, right, and then bad things happen in his life after good things, it's like, bro, it resonates with me because yeah, I've been there before too, right? And then that's what makes it more impactful, by being in a circumstance when you have, and then you mess up and then you don't have anymore. Maybe God gives you a bow bow because you were full of pride, or you had too much of an ego, or you're too much lust, or whatever it is, and then like, was I somebody that was like, oh, like Job, just a perfect, blameless man? No, bro. If anything, I backslid even further, even further. But what's cool is that God's a gracious God, man. He's really gonna, he doesn't want to really screw you over. He's gonna do his best to show you the way. And like, yeah, you might get the little pow pow on your back, but at the end of the day, he's still gonna try to be there to guide you and show you the way. And look, I mean, I'm not sitting here on top of the mountaintop, but I'll definitely tell you that my years and like over the last year and a half, my things have progressed like massively, massively. So, I'm definitely like stoked on that. I saw my boy say, "What other stories might be proof of the giants?" So I mean, listen, like the book of Enoch. I mean, the different mythos, right? I mean, I usually focus on like more of the like Abrahamic like faith, like with the biblical stuff, but like, Greek, Norse, Hindu, Native American, other folklore. So I mean, it's all over the place. So then it goes into just like realizing that you don't have a reference point. You can't come up with something out of nothing, right? So there's always a reference point to something. So, if all these different cultures that aren't communicating have mythologies of giants, it's like, bro, like, what else do you think? You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, it's like there's nothing new under the sun, under the sun, as my chat is like suggested. It's like, it's really cool to think about how giants may have influenced our society, and so like even like David and Goliath, right? That's a good example. Like Goliath was a Philistine, right? And I guess if there was a tribe of the Philistines that were giants, you know, and even when Ron Wyatt did his the guy, the famous biblical archaeologist, when he did his search on Noah's Ark, he found a red human hair from a giant. So I'm trying to look it up now, but that's just like super insane, bro. Like, look at that. Video isn't available anymore. Yeah, go figure, bro. Um, what's crazy is that no matter how much things get shadow banned, things are always going to find like the truth will always be discovered, bro. But yeah, that guy Ron Wyatt was definitely like he's almost like I don't want to say a Job, because like, Job's story like connotes that he's had something really bad with him, and something, and he prospered. But he was called by God because he basically, when he went to go visit, when he was in Turkey and when he was visiting, he basically prayed, and he prayed to God saying, "Hey, I only have like X amount of days on this trip. Let me please just demonstrate to me where this ark is at." And literally, when they were driving, the car stalled, and that was his way of noticing where it was. So then he put a marker there, and then he went back the next day, climbed up the mountain, and found the ark. So it's just crazy how like that guy was like really called by God, but at the same time he had like a lot of that guy had a lot of faith, bro. he also found, and I could do another episode on this. He found the Ark of the Covenant, and which was wild because it was placed directly underneath where Jesus was crucified, and that when the centurion Roman dude stabbed Jesus on the cross and blood started spilling out, that the blood was on the mountain, and it fell down through the crevice, and it actually landed on the physical Ark of the Covenant, and that was like the pact of basically the Old Testament to the New Testament, like joining forces. I could try to find that information, but it's like pretty much like the most raddest thing I've ever seen. And what's rad about it is that when Ron Wyatt did that excavation and found the Ark of the Covenant, um, there was still living blood on it, not like dry blood, but actual living blood on it. And then he took it to Israel to get a DNA test or whatever, and the Israeli doctors were like, dude, whose blood is this? And he started crying, and he's like, it's the blood of your Messiah. And they were like, dude, what? Like they had they had chills, and they actually converted to Christianity because it only had the certain amount of genomes. Like I think you get 32 from your mom and 32 from your dad or something like that. I forgot the exact number, but it was only like 33. It was like from the mom and like one other one or something like that. So it was like proof that it was DNA from only a woman and from God. And it was living DNA, it was living blood. It wasn't even like like dry blood on the Ark of the Covenant. Really, really rad stuff, bro. That guy Ron Wyatt, dude, like, man, that guy is like the ultimate, like, bro, truth dude, bro. And not to mention, he found the path where Moses split the sea in the Dead Sea, and found like all these like old school wheels where all the different I already forgot all the different people that were chasing the Jews. I guess they were the Egyptians, right? Chasing them out. So, and it had all the different like wheels and stuff, like pretty. I mean, it's just pretty gnarly how this guy, like, that he was called to just like find all that stuff, and he did. So like definitely like what an important dude, bro. And what's really fresh about it is that that guy was super humble. Like he spent the majority of his money going on these searches. Like he lived in a humble house. He didn't live in a big house. Like none of that. And it just goes to show. It's kind of like David, right? Like Solomon and David. Like David was like the youngest brother of seven. You know, so there was all these other brothers that God could have picked, but David was his favorite because of his heart. And it just really goes to show how God, like, bro, he favors the people, like, bro, the meek, like he was a small little brother, bro. You know what I mean? He wasn't the big one or the smartest or the this. Like, bro, like David just had the biggest heart, you know? And yeah, it just goes to show that, like, yeah, like between David, like Ron Wyatt, like these just like strong figures, these are the people like that use their heart and really have that, like, that faith. Those are the people that God really like relies on to like change the world, so definitely like think about that as like an inspiration for myself, but also, hey, like, you know it's like that, my favorite Bible verse, James, 4:8, come close to God, and God will come close to you, come close to you, you know. Um, he was, yeah, my favorite Ron Wyatt story is his first discovery in Mount Sinai. He was captured by the Saudi government, held captive because they thought he was a spy for Israel. Yeah, no, that's a crazy one. I mean, what else I find is crazy is like um when he went to go to the Ark of the Covenant, there were these like people that dressed up like in pharisaical garb, like very like religious and holy guys and all this stuff, and three of them went into the Ark of the Covenant, and they all died, and they all died the same way of like a brain hemorrhage, and then when and actually God told Ron to go there and pull out their bodies. Like, I mean, I guess he spoke to him in his dream or spiritually. I don't know how he talked to him, but he said that when he pulled them out, all of their eyes were crossed, you know? So it was like obvious that they all died the same way. So like that was like bro, because like obviously like back in the OT, like in the Old Testament, like bro, the Holy of Holies, like the Ark of the Covenant was like super only you had to show up there like showered, right? There was a whole process. You couldn't just go there willy-nilly. There was like a sanctification process you had to go through in order to even go there, right? And so like these Pharisees guys were like, oh, that's where the ark is, or not Pharisee, but like Pharisaical, the guys like in like the Pharisaical garb and stuff, and they went there and they died, bro. And and Ron literally had to pull their bodies out, like he was the one. Very very wild, very very interesting. Um, yeah. I remember hearing about that, Frank's. Long story short, they let him go after realizing he was right, and then they discovered many remnants left by the Israelites, held hostage for like 9 months. Yeah, man. I mean, isn't that funny? It's kind of like Peter, right? Peter was in the New Testament, right? Peter was held captive, right? And then he prayed to God, and then what was it that the guard, something happened to the guard, and his chains like broke free, or something along those lines. But like, yeah, Peter was freed just by his faith. I know that's like a famous biblical story. Um, but yeah, no, it's crazy. It's crazy, the supernatural move of God when you move with faith and demonstrate faith. It's like pretty nutty. Um, what other stories might be proof of giants like the flood? I'm not sure, bro. Um, I would have to look more into that. Of like other stories of the giants in the like, for example, like, I mean, you'll definitely like, I pulled up some examples online that I found. I know I've seen a ton more of like big, like huge, like swords and daggers and stuff that otherwise wouldn't have like been here. You know what's crazy here? This guy Sibs on Insta is like the most loose here. uh Look at this, bro. I mean, it's funny how like this guy like puts stuff into like context that you would never be like if you saw it like normally you'd be like, okay. But he really like he really drops some hammers, bro. Like you'll see like, oh yeah, you know what, I shared something the other day. Here we go, this one. Like, bro, how are you gonna tell me that doesn't look like a giant freaking elephant? Like, get the fuck out of here, bro. Like, get the fuck out of here, dude. Like, that's 100% a gigantic elephant, you know? So it's like, bro, like, and then like, if that what was happening, like, because apparently, like, God wanted to flood the world because of all, like, I mean, look at this face right here. God wanted to flood the world because of gene splicing and all that kind of stuff, and like, mixing of animals and all this kind of stuff. Like, bro, who's to say that some of that remnants still isn't even here today, bro? I mean, yeah, you flood it, but if let's say something gets flooded and it dies, wouldn't you still be able to see the remains? And I think that that's what a lot of this like rock formation stuff is, you know. Um, Especially a lot of the caverns and stuff, they look like internal biology. Like tubes, like inside of like organs, you know. I mean, look at this. This is like a turtle or something. This is called yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Crazy, man. Oh, you know what I saw too, bro? That like Himalayan pink salt. That Himalayan salt is actually like flesh. That's nutty because look at those rocks, bro. These rocks actually look like ribs, like steak. You know, like how crazy is that? Look, it's the bacon comments for me. It's a baconite crystal, but yeah, who's to say that's not just petrified flesh, bro? These rocks, dude. But yeah, I remember seeing something along those lines about Himalayan pink salt. Um, yeah, stuff's nuts, bro. The rocks were alive. Really cool stuff, man. But it really just, if anything, instead of it just being like this whole, oh, crazy conspiratorial thing, it's more like, nah, man, like just more proof of God and the biblical times, man, and how God is real and the stories are real and more of the ramifications about life, man, and how things are in this world. But yeah, I guess it's oh, what I just find. Okay. Oh, they're talking about what's that guy's name? Oh, I forgot his name, dude. This is a famous dude. Here, I'll put this on. Nice. I've gotten good at this displaying stuff. This is a famous dude, bro. I forgot his name, bro. Sorry about that. Oh, is it Robert Wadlow? Wadlow? Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Is he a biblical giant? I don't know, possibly. Um, yeah, man. I think that I think the past is a lot more interesting than we are led to believe, and the truth is stranger than fiction. And yeah, the whole Nephilim narrative is actually more true than people give account for. I think that's 100% right. And yeah, instead of it being a something that you look up and you're like, yo, like that's crazy, da 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 da, and go into like crazy rabbit holes and like piss you off. More like let that be like, man, let that edify your heart and to realize that God is real and that these are things that really this is truth. This is the true reality that we live in, and that the past is um is exactly the way the Bible says it. So that's like more onus for you to to take it like literal. And I'm not to say, because I know that like there's a Council of Trent and there is these different parts of the Bible that the Book of Enoch used to be in it. They took it out and all this stuff. Um, what was it? Hold on. Ethiopian Bible. I like looking up the Ethiopian Bible, right? Because it's like, dude, like back in AD 24, the Christians went to Ethiopia, and then all those books are in there. And like, what's cool is that like they had like these such super rad Bibles, bro, with artwork in it. And as somebody that's an art nut like me, like, man, I think this is like so fresh, bro. You know, like I would love to be able to get my hands on something like this. But yeah, man. Oh, and another piece of gravy that not many people know is that Bob Marley, before he died, he actually renounced Rastafarianism and accepted God in his heart. He accepted Christianity. So I know that, like, the whole, like, there's like a whole, like, people are like, oh, Bob Marley is Rastafarian and Haile Selassie and all this stuff. But it's like, bro, actually, when he was at his deathbed, he accepted Christ. And that's like on God. Like, you could look that one up. But a lot of people don't know that one. But yeah, man. I mean, listen, bro. When people when people are about to meet their creator, bro, they end up stop messing around and actually, do what's right. So take that for what you will. Because a lot of people, especially like black people, that they really like, they have figures like Bob Marley and they really hold on to them. And he's obviously a super spiritual man, but at the same time, it's like, dude, he even accepted Christ in his heart, you know. So, I mean, look at this, John the Baptist and Jesus, boom, right from the Ethiopian Bible. Really, really cool stuff. But anyways, maybe I'll talk about this a bit more in my next live. But yo, hey, God bless you guys for hopping on. Thank you for joining, man. You guys are really, really cool. I'm gonna sign off here. Thank you. Let me know if you like this kind of content, if you want more of this kind of stuff. Um, if I were to sign off on anything, I would say, hey, when you go through struggles in life, think about Job, bro. Think about how he went through so much crap in his life, and he didn't let him steer away from God. If anything, he still appreciated God for what he's had, and said, hey, if God will give me everything, he could take everything away too. And I think that that's like a really cool way of thinking about stuff. And then listen, you know, not to be like focusing on yourself instead of God, but in the end, God actually blessed him and gave him 2 times more than what he even had before, for just demonstrating his faith and loyalty. So, take that for what you will.